Hello, my name's Katie Lewis and I'm the head of MFL at Pearson Edexcel. In this short video, I'm going to talk you through the key differences between our accredited GCSE French qualification and the draft version. And in this video, I'm going to be specifically focused on the writing assessments and our vocab and grammar lists. So there are no changes between the draft and accredited versions of the writing paper in terms of the structure, the timing, or the number of marks for both the higher tier and the foundation tier. So for the foundation tier picture task, the students will still get one colour picture to describe in 4 short sentences, and they will also get the choice of 1 question from 2 for both of the open response questions. For the higher tier, as with the foundation tier, all of the content and structural aspects of the accredited version are the same as the draft version, and students still get a choice of 1 question from 2 for all of the open response questions. So the tasks in the writing paper are set within the students' own likely experiences because we want the questions to be accessible without there being barriers that could be related to a student's lack of cultural capital or lack of experiences. And we want them to be focused on showing us their language skills and not having to worry about using their imaginations. I've mentioned already the colour photo for the first question of the foundation tier, and I've mentioned the choice of writing tasks for all of the open response questions on both tiers has been retained. We've also retained our approach to the scaffolding. So where students have to write more, they are given more guidance, so more bullet points on the questions that require a fuller response. For the translation task, that remains the same as in the draft specification, so it's still thematically linked, and we've also retained the clear progression from the start of the paper to the end. So for each of the open response questions, there's a choice with a different topic for the students to write about. But within that choice, the audience and the type of writing are the same. So in this example from higher tier question 1, they only have to decide whether they prefer to write to a friend about shopping or if they want to write to a friend about transport. And for this example from higher tier question 2, they have to choose whether they would rather write for a school magazine about healthy living or about schools. That means that they can select the option which enables them to use the vocabulary that they feel most confident with. And as with our draft specification, in the accredited version, even in the formal context for the writing, there isn't any requirement for the students to use the formal register. So during the accreditation process, we've made a series of updates to the mark schemes in response to Ofqual feedback and to our own review to make sure that we capture the full range of candidate performance whilst also retaining our compassionate assessment approach. Obviously making sure that students are fairly and consistently rewarded in a levels-based mark scheme is really critical. So we have made improvements to the clarity and the layout of the mark schemes. We've added additional exemplification, which is based from real student responses, which we've trialled during the development process. We've added additional guidance to the mark scheme on the differentiation between the marks for AO2 and AO3 to make sure that students wouldn't be double credited or double penalised for an error against 2 different assessment objectives. We've added additional exemplification of the kind of errors that wouldn't, in fact, get in the way of communication success, and we've added a helpful infographic that shows some of the differentiation between those mark scheme terms like sometimes and mostly, which we think will be quite useful in helping to interpret the levels-based mark scheme. So as we've moved through the accreditation process, we have added some more words to the vocabulary list. And we've done that where we identified that there were some useful words that hadn't been included, for example. But the total number of words is still 1,200 for the foundation tier and 1,700 for the higher tier. There's also been a few other small changes, such as vocab items moving from one tier to another, mostly from the higher tier to the foundation tier list, and also corrections for things like any small errors or typos in the draft materials. Other things that we've been doing during the accreditation process are that we have created our mapped vocabulary list against the NSELB Key Stage 3 list to support you in embedding the updated vocabulary list into your existing Key Stage 3. And finally, we've developed our interactive vocab tool, which is now available on the website. Using this tool, you can interact with the vocabulary by word type or subject. You can filter and you can search, and that will really help you to build up your teaching resource. There is a little screenshot of the interactive vocabulary tool. If you go onto the Pearson website, you will find and be able to access that and make use of it straight away.